All right, everyone, I want to get a weekly video out this week. I've been out of town, had an event, and then came back, had some technical difficulties, but I saw this article about a real estate boom is coming, so I wanted to cover it because I've covered some things like foreclosures are up and contract cancellations are up, but in those videos, if you watch them, I talk about how none of that's going to matter if rates fall because we haven't had any major market correction, and when we look at where the direction of the market's going, I want to look at this article and see if you think you agree. I'm actually going to a Halloween event, Thrill the World, good cause, and I'm going to be dancing, or I'm not going to say dancing, I'm going to be with about 50 zombies and watch Michael Jackson dance to Thrill the World all over the United States, and this is this version here. That'll be Saturday night, maybe. I don't know how this editing is going to go in this video. I kind of have to do it in one take, so I'll cue the zombies here if I'm able to do any editing. This is, again, Rayce Robinson, your favorite Florida mortgage broker. And this is the article here. Gene Marks, a real estate boom is coming. And there's 5 takeaways on here that I want you to think about if you're a real estate agent, even if you're a home buyer listening to this. He makes some good points. 1, the main structure that he's talking about is that there's going to be a boom unlike any other once that boom starts. What's the catalyst he's saying that I also agree with 100% on this boom? 1, the current pain he identifies. That we've been stuck in a housing depression, sales are low, builders are cautious, rates are high, which is frozen activity, right? But this is not gonna last forever, right? We have very short memory. Like 2 seconds ago, we were in lockdowns and COVID, and I was like, when was that again? And so we have short memory. If rates fall, people are going to jump in the market because it's gonna make housing more affordable. The second point he makes is that real estate makes up 14 to 18%. We're gonna call that about 20% of GDP, which means that when nearly a fifth of the U.S. economy wakes back up, that's not a recovery, that's an explosion, meaning there's a huge amount of pent-up demand on the sideline, both in people that want to sell their homes that have super, super low rates and just haven't been able to do that, and 2, buyers that have been waiting for payments to get a little more affordable. The trigger rate, and I've actually done 3 or 4 videos on this, I'm going to pat my own back on this because he's picking the exact same rate I picked, which is that he identifies the magic number is 5.5%. That's when people start saying, quit saying I can't move and start saying let's go shopping, which is 100% true. When we've hit 6%, which we're pretty close to right now, rates are about 6.2% nationally. Remember, everyone's rate's different. You may not get that rate. If your score is not as good, you may get a better rate than that. If you're buying the rate down, you've got big down payment and super high credit scores. But in general, rates are down nationally about 6.2%, which is down, right? And we also have the Fed meeting this week on October 29th. Fed's already going to cut the rate a quarter, but if they cut it more, they talk about more than 1 or 2 more rate cuts this year. You're going to see the market also get a little bit lower. Rate's going to improve some. But he's pointing out that at 5.5%, we're going to get a lot of demand in the market, and again, at 6%, mortgage applications always jump. Another thing that he brings up that I haven't really talked about before is that we're reshoring manufacturing, and that means factories, warehouses, and office demand is on U.S. soil. Basically, tariffs are forcing companies to look at reshoring their manufacturing, and he's saying that's going to cause GDP to get better, cause people to buy more houses, especially when rates are lower. And then the thing he talks about is affordability comes not from cheaper homes, but higher incomes catching up. There's a lot of indication out that if GDP goes up some, right, income will trickle up. It always moves slower than everything else, it seems like. But then at the same time, rates are coming down. And then kind of his last point is he's telling us there's a storm that's been long. The storm's been long, but the sun's about to break. If you're in real estate, don't back out now. Position yourself for a boom. And I would agree with that 100%. I just came back from United Wholesale Mortgage talking about AI and all these opportunities to streamline our business, how much demand is on the sideline, and putting yourself in a position to capture that. And if you're a home buyer and you've been on the sideline, you're going to look back now and say, wow, we had all these motivated sellers. I could have refinanced into that boom. And this is the time where you're going to have more choices. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think likely next year we hit that 5.5% mark when you look at mortgage spreads with the 10-year Treasury. You look at where the Fed that in May, Jerome Powell's, that's going to be his last day. We're going to get a different Fed president, likely one more likely to cut rates. And then at the same time, when we have lower rates, and the mainstream media says, hey, now's a good time to buy a house. Everybody's going to jump in the market. And I don't think it's going to be this massive boom the way he's saying, but you are going to see more and more people trickling on the market. We're already seeing it now. Pre-approvals are way up. So if you have any questions, I spent the last 4 days AI in my business. What does that mean? I read a stat, 50 to 60% of your business right now should be being done by AI. Most people are using ChatGPT like Google. They don't really understand how to write prompts that completely change the way they do business. Right? We have a loan partner that we created named Ivy that helps our staff. And so if you don't know or haven't been looking at some of this stuff, I'd love to talk to you. I don't care if you're in the mortgage business, real estate business, whatever. It is definitely changing the way that we do business, and you need to be on top of that now. So that's what we're gonna keep tracking all this information and more. I'm on my way out to the zombie horde right now. Looking forward to that. We'll look at the Fed meeting this week on October 29th and what Jerome Powell says after. More importantly, have a great week. This is Rayce Robinson, your favorite Florida mortgage broker. Have a great day, great week. I'll talk to you soon.